All right, Steelers Nation, we are back again. And today we have a really important update that has been buzzing around Pittsburgh. It's the kind of story that makes you stop and think, because it feels like the franchise is at a real crossroads. Brian Flores, yes, Brian Flores, was recently on the South Side for an in-person interview for the Steelers' head coaching job. And what makes this so significant is that this was the first time Art Rooney and Omar Khan have met someone face-to-face in the search to replace Mike Tomlin. That alone tells you the process is heating up, and the team is seriously considering the candidates on a deeper level than before. Now, you might be wondering why the fanbase doesn't seem overly excited about Flores. I've been paying attention, and if I'm being honest, it feels like there's a general lack of enthusiasm around his name. That's not to say he isn't qualified. The most obvious difference between him and many of the other candidates is that he is the only one with actual NFL head coaching experience. He spent 3 seasons in Miami, and even though the results were mixed, there's something valuable about having already been in that role. You can't fake that kind of experience. At the same time, there's a sense of nostalgia that comes with the Steelers' history of hiring coaches who have never been head coaches before. We've seen it with Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and of course Mike Tomlin. There's this idea that the Steelers like to find diamonds in the rough, or at least someone who hasn't had the chance to lead a team yet. It's like buying a brand new house. There's a special thrill in walking into a place where nobody has ever lived before. But here's the thing, just because a coach is already in his mid-40s and has already held the job somewhere else, it doesn't automatically mean he's less appealing. If anything, that experience should be a strength, not a weakness. And Flores has a connection to Pittsburgh that not many other candidates can claim. He was here in a smaller role as a defensive advisor, and he wasn't just present, he was vocal, visible, and clearly involved. He worked with some of the players and made an impression. That kind of familiarity with the organization is not something to overlook. After he left for Minnesota to become their defensive coordinator, people in Pittsburgh were divided. Some actually believed he deserved the job over keeping Terrell Austin. That's how highly some fans and analysts thought of him. His time in Minnesota has only strengthened his resume. In the most recent season, the Vikings finished 3rd in total defense across the entire NFL. That puts them in elite company, with only the Texans and Broncos ahead of them and the Browns right behind. It's not just a good defense, it's a top-tier defense. And when you look at takeaways, the Vikings forced the ball loose 21 times, ranking 10th in the league. That included 8 interceptions and 13 fumble recoveries. Those numbers matter. They show an ability to build a defense that can win games by making plays and creating turnovers. So why the hesitation? Why does it feel like Steelers fans are just not that hyped about the possibility of Flores becoming the next head coach? Well, this is where things get complicated. Because beyond the football side, Flores has had some off-the-field issues that have made some people uncomfortable, and I get it. I'm one of those people too. But I want to be clear, it's not the same thing that everyone else is worried about. If you look at Flores' NFL history, there are 2 main chapters worth examining. The first is his time in Miami and how it ended. The second is his ongoing lawsuit against the NFL, which alleges racial discrimination in coaching hires. And I want to be honest here, there is one specific aspect of that lawsuit that I think almost everyone would agree with, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with Miami. Flores' run there wasn't successful in the traditional sense. He went 24-25 overall, with 2 winning seasons but no playoff appearances. That's the kind of record that doesn't exactly scream future Hall of Fame coach. Everyone already knew Flores was a sharp defensive mind before he got the Miami job. And after his time in Minnesota, everyone knows it even more. But the head coaching role is a different beast. It's not just about defense or schemes. It's about leadership, relationships, and how you handle pressure when everything is on your shoulders. One of the most public and controversial parts of his time in Miami involved his relationship with the team's franchise quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. According to multiple reports and even to his own comments, Flores was extremely tough on him. He reportedly called him terrible and repeatedly criticized him. After Flores was fired, Tua publicly said Flores was a terrible person. Those are harsh words, and they carry weight. Flores did later respond and tried to address the situation. He acknowledged that his coaching style could be harsh and said he intended it to challenge players. He even said he was happy to see Tua succeed. But when you look at the way Flores spoke about the situation in a later interview, it's hard not to feel a little uneasy. In the summer of 2024, media in Minnesota asked him about the criticism. His response was lengthy, and to many, it came across as awkward and uncertain. He talked about coaching being about correcting players, about having high standards, and about reflecting on what he could do better. He mentioned that he has had many great relationships over his career, and that he is always trying to get better. But the tone of the answer didn't exactly sound confident or decisive. It sounded like a man trying to explain himself under pressure. And when you're considering someone for the Steelers' head coaching job, leadership is the #1 priority. Art Rooney Jr. even cited leadership as the key quality they're looking for. So when a coach's response to a major controversy comes across as hesitant or uncomfortable, it's hard not to question whether that person can handle the intensity of Pittsburgh's expectations. Now, about the lawsuit. This is where I want to make something very clear. I do not have an issue with Flores taking legal action. In fact, I think his lawsuit highlights a real problem in the league. The case isn't just about whether racism exists in the hiring process. It's also about the fact that Roger Goodell has been the one-person decision-maker for complaints. One circuit court judge even described the NFL's arbitration process as arbitration in name only. The lawyers involved argue that the league has relied on a biased and unfair system, and they are fighting to change that. So, from my perspective, Flores being willing to stand up and fight something that appears unjust is not a red flag. It shows conviction. It shows a willingness to put his career on the line for what he believes is right. That, to me, is not something to punish. It is something to respect. But still, there's a reason the fan base is hesitant. It's not just about the lawsuit, it's about the whole package. It's about whether he is the right fit for Pittsburgh, a place where leadership is everything, and where fans demand a coach who can command the room and build trust with players and staff. Flores has the defensive pedigree and the experience. But the question remains, can he be the kind of leader the Steelers need now? As we keep rolling through this discussion, let's shift focus from the coaching search and jump into a topic that has been quietly simmering beneath the surface for a while. It's the question of what happens with the Steelers' running back room, and specifically what Caleb Johnson's role will be moving forward. Because if we are being honest, this is one of those situations where a player's future isn't just about talent, but about how the coaching staff sees his fit in the offense and whether they are willing to truly invest in him. There was a question recently from a fan, and it was a fair one. It asked why Caleb Johnson seemed to disappear during his rookie season. Why did he barely see the field, and why did it feel like he was stuck in Mike Tomlin's doghouse? He was a third-round pick, and it felt like the team should have at least given him a more consistent opportunity. So what happened? The short answer is that he wasn't really in the doghouse in the way fans imagined. The bigger issue is that the Steelers already had a crowded backfield with Jaylen Warren and Kenny Gainwell ahead of him. Those two players were already established in the system, and they were clearly the top options. When you're behind them, the opportunities are limited. The real turning point for Caleb came after that shocking mistake on a kickoff return, which was a moment that will live in Steelers lore for all the wrong reasons. Once that happened, the coaching staff made a decision. They decided that his role in kick returns was over under this staff. That's not the same as saying they didn't believe in his talent, but it is a recognition that special teams mistakes can be costly, especially in Pittsburgh, where the margin for error is slim. And after that, his role in the offense became even more limited. But here's the part that might surprise some people. There were moments in the season when the staff actually did involve Caleb more than expected. There were games where he got a few carries, and it felt like the coaches were at least giving him a chance to show what he could do. In a season where the offense was often struggling to find consistency, there were times when they turned to him, and that suggested they saw something in him. It wasn't a full commitment, but it was enough to show he was not completely forgotten. I spent a lot of time talking to Caleb over the course of the season, and I got a real sense of what he was feeling. It was clear that he was frustrated. He had been a workhorse in college, and he was used to being the main guy at Iowa. He was the kind of back who carried the offense on his shoulders, and he was a physical runner who rarely went down without gaining something. But the NFL is a different game, and the Steelers have a particular style of running back they prefer. Caleb wasn't the flashy, explosive runner that some fans wanted to see, and that made it harder for him to stand out. When you look at his stats, they don't jump off the page. 28 carries for 69 yards, averaging just a .5 yards per carry, 1 catch for 9 yards. Those numbers don't scream future starter. But the truth is that the stats don't always tell the whole story, especially for a young back who isn't getting consistent reps after mid-December. Caleb essentially vanished from the offensive rotation. He didn't get another helmet on offense. The staff decided they were comfortable with Warren and Gainwell handling the workload, and they didn't feel the need for an emergency third option. So where does that leave Caleb Johnson going forward? If he is going to succeed in the NFL, he needs an identity. Not just a vague idea, but a clear role that the team and the fans can understand. Right now, outside of the organization, there isn't a strong narrative for who he is as a player. He's not a home run hitter. He's not the kind of runner who will break a long run every game. He's closer to a power back, the kind of player who wears down defenses with physicality and consistent contact. If you want to compare him to someone, he's more like Najee Harris in terms of playing style than the faster, more explosive backs that people love to highlight. The Steelers used him in a way that reflects that kind of role. When they did give him carries, it was often in the middle of games or right after halftime, when they were trying to give the starters a break or grind the defense down. That's not glamorous, but it is valuable, and if the staff can build around that, Caleb could develop into a very useful weapon. But the key is that he has to improve in several areas. He needs to be more complete. He needs to show he can hit the edge, not just run up the middle. He needs to improve his blocking, because in today's NFL, if a running back can't block, he's going to get left behind. He also needs to catch the ball better, because versatility is everything in a modern offense. Those are not small tasks. They are the kind of things that separate good college backs from NFL contributors, but he has a foundation to build on. He has the kind of body type and physical style that can translate if he gets the right coaching, and if the team commits to developing him, and I hope the Steelers do just that. Because he's a good kid. I don't say that about everyone. He's someone who impressed me off the field, and he has the right attitude to grow into a better player. When the summer comes around and training camps begin, the key for Caleb will be to show that he is more than just a backup. He needs to show he has a defined role. If the Steelers can establish that identity, then we can start to have realistic expectations for him. And the staff needs to be honest about what he is and what he isn't. He's not a speed back. He's not a highlight reel runner. But he could be a reliable, tough, physical player who can help the team win games in the way that Pittsburgh loves. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL rumor mill was sent into overdrive after explosive reports began circulating that Stefon Diggs could be on the verge of becoming the newest offensive weapon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. While nothing has been officially signed or announced by the franchise, league insiders suggest that conversations behind the scenes have intensified, enough to leave rival front offices on alert and fans across the league stunned. The idea of Diggs wearing black and gold has quickly shifted from far-fetched fantasy to a scenario that executives are quietly preparing for. Sources close to this situation indicate that Pittsburgh has been aggressively exploring ways to reshape its offense, seeking a proven star capable of instantly elevating the passing game. Diggs' name emerging in these discussions is no coincidence. Known for his elite route running, competitiveness, and game-breaking ability, he represents exactly the kind of high-impact presence the Steelers have lacked in recent seasons. The speculation alone has already sparked debate about how such a move could redefine the balance of power within the conference. From Diggs' perspective, whispers suggest a growing desire for a fresh challenge and a system that allows him to remain a focal point rather than part of a crowded narrative. Pittsburgh's tradition, physical identity, and passionate fan base reportedly appeal to the veteran receiver, adding fuel to the belief that mutual interest exists. Financial maneuvering and draft capital would certainly be required, but insiders claim the Steelers are among the few teams both willing and able to make such a bold push. Around the league, reactions range from disbelief to admiration. Executives privately acknowledge that if this rumor materializes, it could trigger a domino effect of roster moves elsewhere. For now, everything remains in the realm of speculation. But one thing is clear: the mere possibility of Stefon Diggs landing in Pittsburgh has already shaken the NFL landscape. proving once again how a single name can dominate headlines before any deal is done. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.